Hey, that reminds me, Gary. I need to
What?
put myself on the opening credits.
You do, don't you? Yes. I
No,
mean, I lap it up, but it's a two-hander, so let's equal things out a bit.
first note to self tonight. Then I will
Yeah.
take care of that. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm very well. As I was just saying to you, I've pretty much got over my back pain, which is always intrusive. So I'm firing on all cylinders. God help you.
Good. Okay. Well, let's see what the next hour or so brings.
Excuse me.
The subject tonight, a meditative life, which I think is picking
Mm,
up on our respective interests in meditation and
mm.
mindfulness, and a chance to unpack that a little bit tonight. Is that what you
Yeah,
were thinking?
yeah, very much. We now both know that each other meditates, but
Yeah.
it's likely that we do it in different ways.
Yes.
And rather than tell people tonight what they should and shouldn't be doing and running them through different kinds of meditation, I just thought how is it we get to meditation? I
Yeah.
mean, when I was a kid, it was never taught. I knew it was people did it, but it was other people did it, and it was
Yes.
very strange. So maybe we can, as you say, unpack what brought us both to meditation. We
Hmm.
don't necessarily have to share every deep and dark corner, but there's a reason usually that people go, "Oh, I'm going to investigate meditation,"
Mm.
and then what kinds have we tried?
Yeah.
And what works for us, what doesn't work, and why certain things do work and certain things don't.
Yes.
And I kind of follow the mindfulness meditation approach rather than transcendental meditation or chanting or other related disciplines. And what our view of mindfulness might be,
Yeah.
and therefore what is a meditative life and what is a mindful life. So we'll
Yes.
just see where it goes.
Let's do that then, and thank you for that opportunity.
Mm.
Really, really like the sound of that, and so it's going to be at least an interesting conversation for you and I when we
Yeah.
compare notes on those things, and hopefully to others who might come across this, whose curiosity might be aroused by the whole idea of
Mm.
meditative life and meditation and mindfulness. And this is the Positive Echo podcast, by the way, as you can see
Mm.
here, and T Duck is picking up on that. I want to leave a quack that echoes across the pond. That's not a bad little legacy, is
Ah, yeah, I love that.
it?
Or
Okay.
drop a rock in the pond and see where the ripples go.
Yes, lovely big ripples.
Mm.
I have had a hard time meditating. I get bored almost immediately.
We'll definitely touch
Very,
on that.
yes, very interesting.
Mm.
Stick around, T Duck, unless we're boring, and then
Yeah, then do something more interesting,
yes,
please.
go chuck a stone in the pond. Okay, so where did you start then? Let's sort of to and fro this. What's what
Mm.
was your the founding impulse for your meditative life?
I, I think for many people, it's trying to find peace and calm uh, and regulating their emotions so you can look at the world in a different way. With me, it was like the X-rated version of that. I was seriously considering, as I've said before, killing myself
Yeah,
at the age of 27. And we're not going to rehearse all the whys this time round. But as part of an effort to change my situation, I looked at meditation. But being the kind of guy I am, I read about it. But there was some very early videos out there, but this is 40 years ago, 41 years ago, in fact. So YouTube didn't exist.
well,
Um, so there was lots of books, and I read a lot. I'm an ex-scientist, so I read a lot, and I started playing with what I thought was meditation, but it was born out of a desire to understand why I was so anxious.
yeah,
So that's really why I went to meditation. And I'd looked at transcendental, and I don't really know it that well, but it just didn't fit me. And I
mm,
didn't want to meditate in groups. It had to be a soul kind of thing. So that's me. And you?
A slightly more arrogant and condescending beginning for me.
That's all like you.
Well, you may change your view on that. I hide it
Mhm.
well, but um, I think in a word, you said anxiety.
Mhm.
I would be in that same sort of ballpark of unrest and uncertainty.
Mhm.
And when I say condescending and arrogant, I looked upon the world. This is my story about it anyway. You know, we have a story, don't we, about how
Of course.
we thought about things. And
Mm.
my story about this and that process is, as a child, I thought most other people were insane. The world didn't make much sense to me.
Oh.
So I became quite sort of condescending at an early age, thinking, "What is wrong with all these people? You know, I suspect they want to be happy, but they're
Mm.
going about it in a funny way." And by that, obviously, I mean my parents, essentially.
Yeah.
And that sort of created a distance and a haughtiness and a condescension from me as a small child, really. And then I extrapolated that to school, to society, to the way the world works. As you know, like here I am. I found myself born into a madhouse, and there must be a better way to do all of this than these people are currently
Yeah.
demonstrating. So that's the beginning of, and I'm not a fan of the phrase, but I suppose that's my spiritual path, if you like. That's the
Okay. Mm.
stimulation to take me into the world where you might imagine meditation lies. And
Mm.
one key milestone moment is a friend of my mum's who was a Buddhist, and she
Mhm.
bought me my first, I suppose, sort of spiritual book, Buddhism by a guy called Christmas Humphreys. And you got to love
Oh.
somebody called Christmas, haven't you? I think he
Oh,
was
yeah.
like a Westerner interested in the Eastern world. And, you know, like you saying 40 years ago, it was very much an East-West sort of thing, wasn't it?
It was.
Those things of spirituality and meditation that weren't to do with Christianity and Western religion and spirituality were of the East, weren't they? So the Buddhists were leading the way, and then if you looked into that, Hinduism might be part of it, and um, the Sufis. You know,
Yeah.
that isn't that sort of the Gnostic wing
Yeah.
of the of
Yeah.
Hinduism, Sufism, or are they Islamic? I'm not sure. Anyway, but that whole Eastern world, Eastern mysticism. To
Mm.
save myself any further embarrassment on the definitions and specifics, roughly speaking, it seemed like, well, if the Western world is mad, then maybe the East has the answer. So I was
Mm.
interested in Buddhism for sure, and I got this book, and then I became more and more unhappy as a teenager, and more sulky and sort of depressed and condescending about the world I was born into, and thought there must be something better and beyond all of this. And that led me to look
Mm.
into late teens and then early 20s. Yeah, sort of esoteric, cultish groups
Mhm.
that suggested they might have the answer to such concerns. And psychology and philosophy. I
Mhm.
don't know if you've come across Eric Fromm. He made
Yeah,
a book.
yeah, very
Yeah,
much, yeah.
yeah. I found the book To Have or to Be, two books. The Art of Loving, which
Mhm.
confirmed for me that love was a little bit more complicated than the predominant romantic love idea and sentimental love of family. That was his work on love. And then there was To Have or to Be, which was about materialism and how it might be that we were born to predominantly be and exist rather than to have and chase and to acquire. So that interest, social psychology, spirituality,
Mhm.
um, helped in some way. And then in my early 20s, I became a father at a very young age, and that added to
Okay.
my concerns. I think about, you know, I became interested in the environment. I thought the world was going to end. It was, you know, looking back on it now and talking about it, it's so earnest and angst ridden, you know,
Yeah.
as a young man and in my early life. And thank goodness that some things did start to come my way that I found some relief in, and to connect it to the meditation question. I joined an organization. I must have been getting towards my mid, maybe late 20s, and when I came across an organization called the School of Philosophy, also known as the School of Economic Science. And part of their philosophy course, or what it led on to, is a 12-week course. And a lot of people have done this all over the world. People who live in London will have seen their posters on the underground.
Yeah.
They're like, "Are you interested in the meaning of life? Come along to our lectures."
Mm.
And, that sounds like the beginning of joining a cult, doesn't it? And it kind of is in a way, no question about that. If you look at the definitions of it, of the word cult, but their advanced course and study and investigation leads you to transcendental meditation, because the origins of it were to find what the rules of society were. And I think there was a husband and wife couple who were around the time of the depression of the 1930s. They were looking into society and politics, and that the husband met a Indian spiritual teacher who said, "Okay, I'll share the teachings with the Western world." And that was more of the maybe somewhat rational side, philosophical side, appealing to the Western mind. And I think his wife created a relationship with who would become the Maharishi, possibly, but another spiritual teacher who shared transcendental meditation. So transcendental meditation was taught as a part of this philosophy school. And so that was my first real taste of TM as taught in the School of Philosophy. And I was trying other forms of meditation. I'd started doing yoga, and you're doing creative visualization in that, and quiet, reflective, meditative type exercises as part of that. So I had well and truly, as it occurred to me at the time, gone into the world of meditation and was practicing TM. And also around that time, my dearest and greatest spiritual teacher, Barry Long, he also taught a method and wrote a book, and at the time had cassette tapes. Start Meditating Now, and also another one of his masterpieces for me, How to Stop Thinking, which is closely allied with that. So that's a very long answer, but I think it gives you a bit of the background.
That's great. You mentioned the Maharishi, and
Yes,
I remember the Beatles coming back from India and being utterly changed.
Yes.
But I think I'd only be 13, maybe 12 or 13. So it was too early for me. I just thought it was silly. What the hell are you doing dressing up like that?
Hippies. Yeah, they become hippies.
And then I became a hippie later.
Yes.
But I have this problem. I like joining small things, but I don't like joining big things.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I don't like being, how do I put it gently, told how I should behave and think.
You understood? Yeah.
It's not because I'm arrogant. It's just I can't do it. I've tried and I cannot do it. That's why I've never prospered really in big organizations. I mean, I've done okay, but never, always uncomfortable. So at the time I came to meditation, I was looking for, can you just switch my mind off all these dark, horrible thoughts, self-destruction?
Yeah.
And along with a book called How to Deal with Your Nerves, something like that. And yes, Thunderdoc, we're going to come to walks. Definitely walks. Yeah.
He's not left us yet.
No. It's great. Keeps prompting me. So I was also at the time suffering from what I now know as lots of really strong psychosomatic physical illness, all brought on by this massive stress and confusion.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do is mechanically, kind of through meditation, reduce those physical effects so that I could concentrate on the mental and, if you like, spiritual side. If I couldn't sort out the physical, I just couldn't work on the mental. So yes, I took a quite a mechanistic view of it, and mindfulness had an attraction, because the first thing is, can you focus on your physicality?
Yeah.
Your breath, your gut breathing through your nose, some kind of physical anchor. and I'm very body conscious, hence the psychosomatic stuff. So I thought, no, that really worked for me. And I came across lots of brilliant books. I've read, John Kabat-Zinn's Introduction to Mindfulness, and lots of other brilliant people. And by this time, I was working with my team at work on trying to be more mindful of each other to start with. So around leadership and inclusive meetings and all that kind of thing. Very, very focused on who rather than what. So then I came across this brilliant woman, and I've mentioned her before, Dr. Diana Winston. She's the head of mindfulness research at UCLA.
Right.
And every Thursday they have a free 30-minute meditation. So originally, before COVID, there'd be this lecture theatre at lunchtime, their time, packed with people. And Diana or other leaders would take people through all kinds of different meditation. Some of it was using anchors like breathing. But she would get you doing things like sound. What are the sounds you can sense without putting a story to them?
Yeah.
So there's a bird. Okay, it's a bird. Fine. You don't have to have a story about the bird song. Just let it happen.
Yes.
And I found that really a lot easier than focusing on my breath, for example.
Yeah.
So mindfulness drew me in. Have you tried mindfulness meditation as well?
Well, I think so.
I mean, by any other name.
Yeah, what you say resonates from how you've described it, especially the thing about the bird. And since my early 30s, I think in different outbursts, I've taught meditation. I've shared. But when I say I taught meditation, I've shared how I see it.
Yes, invitations to people.
Yes, and invited people to practice what I do with me. So teaching in that sense, not like talking about my knowledge of it. I find that really, I mean, no disrespect to the current conversation, but I think you said this when we started. You instead of doing it, you researched it. That was your scientific approach, and that's one of the great cosmic jokes, isn't it, about meditation? It's probably easier to talk about it than to do it.
Oh yeah,
and this is what tends to happen. But so for me, it was really important to share something that I have found useful all my life. So and by the thing that I found useful is what you were just talking about, which is to have an anchor in your immediate awareness. So breathing is a good one because it's invariably there.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, you're in trouble, and you might not be there much longer. We've also got a body, so it pretty much. I mean, the standing joke about all the meditations I've recorded on YouTube and done with people in real life is that it's the same thing every time. It's a terrible business model. It's terrible marketing. It's terrible show business. It's just awful in any worldly sense because it's just me doing the same thing every time. But what I think is intrinsically valuable about it, if people experience it in the best possible way, is that it's utterly liberating. And it's exactly what you talk about, which is to have an anchor, as in be aware of your body now, be aware of your breathing now, hear a bird now, and don't have a story about it. And the practice of that, and it's such a simple thing, but as in with the many simple things, it's not easy because of obvious reasons and why people say meditation is difficult and why they find it boring. It's not easy to do, but it's profoundly simple. And I think it's brought me great benefit. Exactly what you've talked about, if that is what mindfulness is. And I think it is. I think that is what mindfulness is.
I suspect that, there's mindfulness meditation, which for me is either solitary or initially guided.
Yeah.
And the guided meditation, I've done it in groups face to face, and
Yeah.
I've done silent weekends
Oh, okay.
with periodic meditation for different things. That
Yeah.
was very, very good. It makes you face yourself, and if you can be non-judgmental, you can. It's like look inside your own goldfish bowl and go,
Yeah.
"Ooh,
Absolutely.
where did that come from?"
Yes.
And then you go, I'll recognize that, the lead up to that next time. So there's
Yes.
that goldfish bowl thing, which I think is very valuable to people.
Yes.
Where was I going to go with this? I found I'm an obsessive person. Once I'm into something, you know, you'd have to rip my cold dead hands away from it. And that's good if you're an obsessive, but if you're not an obsessive, that regularity of sameness of meditation
Mm.
can be incredibly frustrating, and
Yeah.
people fall away because they're not getting tangible results as they see it early enough. And I started to fall into that, and I found, as I say, just I could obsess about my breath, but I just felt worse after doing 30 minutes of it than if I'd done nothing. And the one thing that really got me was when, again, it was Diana Winston, said, "We're going to meditate on our thoughts." Because normally she would encourage you to just let your thoughts flow in and flow out and go back to the breath, which is great. But some of those thoughts were really bloody good. So
Right.
I realized, and as any viewer that's watched us, I'm neurodivergent. And my blessing and curse is a million ideas and thoughts in my head every minute of every day.
Mhm.
And you can either try and beat that away and fail miserably. And once you start to see yourself as a failure, it's not a good thing. So I decided to embrace it. And I meditate. If I do a sit down meditation, I meditate on my thoughts as if they were flashing lights.
Yes.
You know, when I don't know whether not everybody has it, but when I close my eyes, I get auras of all kinds of wonderful flashing colors. And that's the closest I can explain to what it's like to be inside my head all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I kind of pick and choose the ones that I want to pursue,
Mm.
knowing that lots of the others will disappear. Oh,
Yeah.
well, there'll be more later. So I started meditating on thoughts, and that was a whole different ball game for me. And for anybody who I think has ADHD traits or autistic traits, embrace your thoughts, weird or not,
Yeah.
and focus on the thoughts. And when they come in, focus on them. They will naturally disappear.
Yes.
So that's one kind of, if you like, formal sit-down meditation. But I'm still doing the deep breathing, and I will return to the anchoring my attention on the breath just to find a kind of neutral place. And then I'll go back to thoughts again, or I'll go to bird song, or I'll go to recalling tastes and smells, physical things. I might do a body scan. I love doing the body scans.
Yes.
But just sitting there focusing on one thing for 30 minutes, just can't do it.
So you found a way to make it work for you. I mean, by the sound of it, and that's fascinating and good, and that's what I think people should be encouraged to do.
Yeah.
Is it's a better outcome to
Mm.
make your own hybrid that works, and that obviously is a very
Mm.
subjective thing, what we might mean by works. But I would say it's better to find your own hybrid that works than to give up on it,
Yeah.
because there is such a profound
Excuse me.
possibility for incredible result, life-changing, transformative results from generally speaking what we're talking about here. And I found the same thing with TM. You know, I was taught a mantra, I did the mantra, it was ritualistic, it was made very special, and I found I was into that classic area of the whole self-discipline thing becoming a distraction. And I understand that's a very sort of cliched human thing, isn't it? It's like you can't get any better at something unless you practice. Discipline is a very good thing. But as soon as you get into the realm of like beating yourself up because you're not doing it, you're in the drama of, am I a bad person? I'm so bad at this. Am I doing this right? I don't think I can do it. Oh, I'm so bad. I missed it today. And then you're not anywhere near the realm of the transformational possibility of meditation. So it becomes quite pointless. And you know, at that time I was doing other things like these long 2-hour meditations in the company of other people that really were an endurance test. And I saw, I think that was like, again, another sort of condescending, spiritually correct thing, rather than with any intrinsic benefit. And what I feel comfortable and confident saying is the thing that's persisted from that time to this is in that basic business of becoming more aware, more mindful, and setting aside a time to do that. And that's why I, you know, it's periodically set up at, you know, on YouTube or something, inviting people to stop with me and do a scan of a kind that you talked about, or an awareness, practice awareness for a few minutes. And I just think that is so simply profound and beautiful, and so profoundly life-changing. If it has been for me, and that's why I share it. And you never really know how it's going to be for anyone else.
Every day is a different day.
Yeah, and you never know how it's going to turn out. But I do know with the value of with the power of retrospect, that it has never failed me. I've never had a bad session of that, if you like.
No.
But when I've sat down to be aware of what's going on in myself, if you like, when I'm witnessing what's going on, for better or for worse, that at some level is a benefit. And at the most sort of prosaic and basic, it's to regulate and slow down. And at the other extremes, it's expansion. And it's never like massively transcendental and, you know, a cosmic blast of enlightenment or anything like that. But it is elevating and expansive and refreshing and regenerative and beautiful. And what I think we really are, actually, as well. It's like what we've come from. It's what we're going to, and what we can touch into at will by that practice. So that, you know, on that basis, I commend it to anybody. And I do try and keep it as simple as possible, because I think there is a lot of guff talked about meditation. And I don't think it's helpful to see it or talk about it as stopping thinking, because that carries an immediately destructive bit of information for the mind that is just hard.
Well, I looked at it this way. Can I build some meditation into every moment of my life?
Right.
So we called this a meditative life, or a mindful life.
Yes.
So while you were talking, I'm desperate to chime in. Yeah? Absolutely desperate, because every sentence you come out with is a new thing that so I was busy feeling the weight of my arms on the arms of my chair.
Cool.
Feeling the weight, the pressure on my backside of the chair, feeling my feet on the floor.
Yeah.
And it keeps me focused on you. So
that's so awesome.
When I'm giving a presentation, and you know, I know exactly what I want to say. I've got the slides if it's a PowerPoint. These days I don't use PowerPoints, but when I did, they were merely crutches for me to extemporize. But I'd worked through exactly what I was going to say, not word for word, but concept by concept, and then it would just flow. If I got stuck, I'd also practice doing this.
Yeah.
Feeling the fingerprints, which was another physical anchor, stimming, if you like, you know, autistics, but it brings you back onto things. So after reading a number of great people's books about, if you like, positive thinking, mindfulness, I realized the key for me was doing things like Thunderduck mentioned, walking, So moving meditation is more powerful for me than sitting meditation. So if I walk, I'm saying around my garden, I won't just look at things. I won't go and do stuff, but I'll feel what different leaves feel like.
Right.
Just for the hell of it. Not to do anything, but it allows me to make physical the mindfulness. So when I walk, I count steps in my head. When I walk, I feel the impact of my heel and then the transition to my toes. And while I'm doing that, I'm not conscious of anything else. There's stuff happening, but I get a rest because I've given the judge in my head a job to do, and he's really good at it. What does a doorknob feel like, or door handle? The anticipation of what it's going to feel like in my hand from doorknobs I've already turned in the past. Again, it seems crazy, pointless, and that is the point. It carries no weight. So it's practicing mindfulness, putting your mind onto something intentionally that of itself counts for nothing. And you do these things, hundreds of them a day to start with, and you do it really consciously. But after a while, it becomes unconscious. You're still mindful.
Yes.
But it's your unconscious mind that's mindful. So it's a bit like going to the gym and doing reps of mindful activity or meditative activity, but you're using the world around you. And I've found this, my sense of awareness has just expanded.
Yeah, like your awareness muscle has been worked.
Yes. I pick up on conversations better than I ever did. And facial expressions. I wasn't great at understanding when somebody had had enough of me speaking. Now I'm pretty good at it, but I've had to be aware of it. So you practice awareness.
Well, that's the upside of the discipline that is so often the end of people's meditation experiments. You know, like, I can't do this, I'm not very good at this, and I feel bad about not doing it. That's the worst case scenario. And on the other side, when people have applied themselves, I think, and got into the routine and repetition of a practice, that's exactly what I think you're talking about can occur for people, is that their awareness can expand.
Yeah.
And that is such a beautiful thing. To me, is the opposite of becoming more particular, more focused. I mean, I know there's a sort of paradox and irony in this, like there is in everything in life, because I've talked about focusing on the breathing in order to be expanded, and that's the use of, that you could say that's single-minded and too narrow to focus on one thing. But in the doing of that comes the opening out and expansion, which is, I think, the paradox of meditation. But we know, generally speaking, I think in life, what happens if people become too fixed and focused, or better still, can't detach. That's the downside of focus, isn't it? Is if you can't stop being focused, you preclude and negate what else there is around you and beyond that. And that is such a useful thing for human beings, as we can see in everyday behavior. When people can't detach from things, as in being right, or having the right opinions, or wanting to be righter than other people, and those sorts of things, that practiced over and over again becomes quite dysfunctional and toxic. And so on the other hand, if people were able to relate to each other and offer each other more openness, and could feel the weight of their body on the chair and their feet on the ground while they were talking to each other, that would suggest to me that there would be a bigger openness and receptivity and allowance for each other, which just makes sense, right? It makes sense.
Sorry to cut over you. I thought you'd finished.
No worries.
Perfect example. This morning, I'm with Mel, my wife, in our usual cafe in the village.
Nice.
The wonderful Sylvia's. Another story to tell. She is fabulous.
Right.
And she acts like the catalyst of conversation. You know, she's making the fantastic coffees, but she's also talking to everyone that comes in. And I can't remember exactly how I ended up saying something to the guy on the next table, but it was like two nerds just gelled. And we realized both of us were neurodivergent and told each other. And he went, yeah, me too. And I went, okay. And after a while, I could tell that he, like me, was busting to burst in. And we both almost at the same time said, you're meditating, aren't you?
Oh, wow.
I went, uh-huh. I'm feeling the weight of my bum on the bench, and he's feeling the temperature of his coffee, in order, A, to keep focusing on the other person's words, and B, holding ourselves in check so we're able to listen.
That's amazing. Is this taught as a particularly sort of neurodivergent cognitive behavioral therapy?
I'm sure it's out there. I really
Right.
am sure it's out there. But it's about, if you can be more aware of things like what you stand for. So the world is out, just you brush the world away because you've now can learn about your own awareness of yourself.
Mm.
You can ask those deep questions of, well, what is non-negotiable in my life? From that foundation, you can make any wise decision you care to think about.
Mm.
But without knowing that, you're just making decisions.
Mm.
And usually they're intellectually based and faulty because they're based on data only.
Yes.
So you then make dumbass decisions and take dumbass actions.
Yes.
So the idea of grounding yourself physically allows you to be grounded mentally, and then you don't have to be, Albert Einstein. It's just, if we make a little wiser decisions a little more often, and we do it through a process of awareness, life is so much simpler and the
And
outcomes tend to be better.
that's what you found in your experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a few comments. Thank you, Gary. That meditation or meditating on thoughts is an interesting concept, Gary, that you mentioned. Have any of you ever tried feeling the weight of your body standing on nail beds? Now, I've got
No.
a vision now. Yeah, exactly. Can't say that I have. So it says T-Duck to Bob. I've got a vision now of Bob like in a loincloth, about to lie down on a bed of nails in that kind of sort of stereotypical Eastern thing we've grown up with.
I do have something similar, which is, I'm as you know, Carl, I'm a marathon kayaker. So we push it really hard. And we have this saying, keep going, it's only pain.
Yes.
And it's this ability to focus on the physicality of the same stroke 10,000 times to cover the distance at speed. And your body will keep telling you, or actually it's more your mind, it's painful, it's painful. We could just pull over there, and just take a rest. Well, you can't in the middle of a race if you want to finish the race, for example.
Yeah.
So it's only pain. And you can use mindfulness meditation, the physical version of it, to overcome pain. And I know this because when I was still working in St. George's Medical School, I was a biomedical scientist, but I was deep into mindfulness and meditation, to the point where I taught it at school, in the medical school, to staff and students. I then collaborated with a guy who was a clinician working on what they call brittle angina, which is incredibly painful cardiac-derived symptoms. And we had two groups. One who we taught mindful meditation, and he did it 3 times a day for 5 minutes, with no end except mindful meditation on their breathing. The other group were told to relax for 5 minutes. And then they reported back in a large random selected trial the pain before their mindfulness or their relaxation. They did it for 3 weeks, and it halved the experience of pain in those people that did mindfulness meditation. And that's published data.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like a mental physical placebo. it locks into exactly those things. So you can do things like stand on bed of nails if you want to.
Well, I'm sure this is what the yogis have been using. That's the mental technology they've been using, isn't it? And walking on hot coals, and breaking arrows with your throat and all that sort of stuff, and looking at the pain, because I think what's really instructive about mindfulness, as we sort of extrapolate that into our understanding of general life and living itself, is the role, the respective, or maybe it's more of a continuum than a sort of polarity thing, but you've got the thinker who needs to think about things, and you've got the awareness of that thinker. And that's, broadly speaking, what we're talking about here, isn't it? It's like, we can be lost in the thinker, and then for some reason, again, paradoxically, that thinker says, I think meditation might be good for me because all this thinking is getting to me. So by some strange quirk of consciousness, that thinker is then able to stand on its own shadow and say, oh, I can see myself thinking now, where I was lost in my constant thoughts that were exhausting me and giving me psychosomatic symptoms. I'm now a step back or removed or transcended, and I can see now this constant generation of thoughts rather than being on board the train of them. I'm standing on the platform watching them go past. And that's incredible, isn't it? Just that thing. And that's what I think can be helpful with pain. I've done that myself. So if I get a pain, the standard response of the well-trained, hypnotized and supported mind in our kind of culture is, oh my God, I'm ill. I think I've got X, Y, or Z. I'll look it up on Google. That's a standard trajectory, isn't it, from pain? Whereas a more mindful, yogic look, if you like, at pain might be, okay, I'm going to look at that pain direct in the face. Like you might say, it's only pain when you're doing your kayaking. And what I've found is when I've looked at some pain I've had, as in I've stared straight at it, it's gone. It's like, again, standing on your shadow sort of. It's like, it's a weird quirk of consciousness. It's like, instead of being in the thought of the pain, I'm suddenly the observer of it, and in the observation of it, evaporates. There's
an interesting trick that I use with kayakers. They're my laboratory on the water.
Guinea pigs. They don't know that, do they?
Yeah, I do. I tell them, Your
lab rats.
And I tell them, well, the sessions are called Zen paddling, and it attracts a certain kind of person. I've had people go, oh, I've got this pain in my shoulder. I go, okay, what you're going to do for the next 20 strokes is you're going to imagine you're breathing deeply into that shoulder.
Yes.
And then you're going to tell me if it still hurts. Now, if it still hurts, you've probably torn a muscle or done something in the joint. If it doesn't hurt, it was psychosomatic. Real, but you now know how you can get rid of it and tell the difference between injury and pain.
Yes,
the perception of pain.
Yes.
I was going to go somewhere else with that.
While you're finding that thread, we've got T Duck saying, when I walk silently, I'm usually thinking about how to improve the well-being of myself, my family, and friends. And that sounds like positive thinking, doesn't it? Which is certainly on the spectrum of consciousness. We know positive thinking is more helpful than negative thinking.
Yes,
it would appear.
And it's reminding me what I was going to say is, when we think, we're talking about thoughts and ideas. And for me now, they're as real or ephemeral as my left calf muscle.
Yeah.
They're a biological process that allows me to process some of the senses that come in from the outside and my past experiences and make some kind of decent fist of understanding what the hell's going on.
Yeah. If
we only rely on those conscious thoughts, we overthink because we're trying to solve something all the time. Yeah. I found with meditation, whatever form it is, my unconscious mind seems to be more available.
Yes.
And stuff that I know I've not consciously thought about pops into my head.
Yeah, it becomes
And they
apparent.
call this emergent wisdom in the
Yes.
traditions. And I think that's a learnable skill.
Agreed. Yeah. Wasn't it Einstein who was notably said this as well?
Yeah.
He's come up a few times for me recently because he also was credited with saying, as I understand it, I don't need to know anything, which connects now. I think AI must appear in this conversation somewhere, but when I heard him saying, or when I heard it reported what he's supposed to have said when I was a young kid, I don't need to remember anything because it's in books. I can just go to it when I need it.
Mm.
I thought that was so wise and brilliant because this is supposed to be one of the most intelligent people we've ever known.
What Einstein was great at was getting all that stuff he'd read. He'd decide what he wants to research, he'd research it, and then synthesize it into something new.
He was AI before AI.
But he didn't agonize over chasing it down, and having a strategy and tactics and, a diary to work by. He used to go for walks.
Yes. Go quiet, right?
Other people, it's a remarkable how many medical people either act or play instruments. I mean, it's disproportionate compared with the general population.
Okay.
Where does that come from? And
Yeah.
it's as if they are major pattern recognizers. They recognize the pattern in music and able to do something physical. And most of the work of a doctor is pattern recognition. That's what you've got. Let's try this.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
So I think that the power of any kind of meditation is to get yourself out the way of yourself.
Yeah, and find a practice that allows you to do that in a
Yeah.
manageable enough
And if
way.
one doesn't work, do something else.
Yes. Yeah.
I have another book coming in the pipeline, which I've mentioned to you, and I'm going to call it something like Our Positive Echo, 43 Ways to Wisdomize Yourself.
Okay, yes. Why 43? Because it's one
Because I
more than
happen to have written
42.
43, and you can do 43 in a year, 1 week at a time. And if you particularly enjoy one or two, you can repeat them during the year. And at the end of the year, you'll have your unique portfolio of how to access more of your innate wisdom.
And wisdomize yourself. And it's an upgrade on 42, the answer to everything.
Now you've got it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, they asked the wrong question, apparently.
Yeah, well, yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about AI. I think that will
That's
inevitably
a
come
subject
up.
for another day.
It really is, isn't it? And
And
I think,
maybe
go on, sorry.
bring, a guest, not somebody who is vehemently anti or vehemently for, but is perhaps better versed in its real application.
Or we could even speak to AI itself, Gary. That would be an interesting conversation.
It would be.
That's
And
doable.
I'm just waiting for AI to develop the same neuroses and psychoses as humans, because it's trained on all of our good and less attractive traits.
Yes, but
So
it doesn't
when
have
will it start to learn how to be mentally ill?
does it have a credit card? And can we offer it a coaching program?
Yeah.
These are the big questions that we're finishing our Meditative Life special with.
Mm.
So, except to say, your kind of spotlight for the week is Dad's Rock, which I suspect has a double
Yes.
meaning here.
Dad's Rock, yeah. In other news, as we always finish with, this was an item I saw on BBC's One Show, and it's like the potpourri of all sorts of kind of things, from soap stars to really interesting life pieces. And what this organization, this charity, has done or is doing is realizing the lack of positive male mentors for children, and also the lack of exposure of children developing for their dads. So they've created this series of local groups, and the dads learn things like how to change nappies. You wouldn't believe how many
Wow.
men do not know how to do it properly.
Yeah.
Theoretically, yes, but so if you scroll up just a bit,
Okay.
if it's live, can
Yeah.
you scroll or down rather?
Yeah.
And
Oh, there's
the
someone doing a nappy. Right.
top one, so you've got 4 across. You want the second from the right, and just click on the top block
So we're
of
talking about
4.
workshops.
That
Yeah.
so you've got yeah. So here you go. The whole series of workshops on different subjects, helping men understand how to be a dad.
Wow. Well,
And only with other dads.
amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. Who'd have thought it? As in, I never realized there would be a need, but if there is, these guys are doing an amazing job to fill
How
that
to
need,
do
right?
CPR on a baby.
Good heavens. There you
You
go.
know?
That's dadsrock.org.uk as a positive echo for sure, right
Yeah,
there, that
it was
we're
a cracker.
leaving you with today.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And thanks, Gary, for the little journey into meditation there. Nice to
And likewise.
Let's have a look about what I thought about meditation. And we even touched on it because we were
Yeah.
variously meditating, were we not,
Yeah.
during that?
And I think the if people are watching who have either not meditated before or are struggling, again, I think it was Diana that said, when you know that your mind has wandered, you gently invite it back to the thing you want to focus on, and do it with a smile on your mind.
A smile on your mind. How about that? And I'll say, Carl Munson says here, if you want to try it, I will make the time to meditate with you online or via some
Brilliant.
platform. I will show you what I do, and gladly, if that could be my positive echo today, that's what I'm gladly to. And I've got loads of videos as well. So and I'm available as a teacher, mentor, whatever you need in that regard. Thank you for the opportunity, Gary. We'll see everybody in a couple of weeks' time, won't we?
We will, with a guest this time.
All right. See you then. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you, T-Duck, and
Bye.
Bob especially.